When I grew up, my mother was a medium and my father was a musician. We were on the road and never stayed in one place longer than 2 or 3 months. We just moved into a place in Minneapolis. It was a new apartment, and we were all sort of camped out there. It was a big studio apartment with a kitchen, bathroom, living quarters, and then there was my mom and my dad and I, all sitting on the floor and laying on blankets. I just started to nod off, and she woke me up and she said, "Honey, look in the kitchen." And I woke up. I didn't sit up or anything. I just sort of opened my eyes and peered through the blankets, and there was a party of probably somewhere between 15 and 20 people in cocktail outfits. I don't remember enough to remember the period or whatever. They were well dressed. I remember the women had jewelry on and the men were wearing suits. I was laying on the floor and my mother woke me up and said, "Look what's happening." So I sat and I watched for a while, and I watched a man who I will never forget how he looked. He was wearing a dark suit. He had brown, very neat hair and was talking to a woman. He had a drink in his hand, and she had a drink in her hand, and I watched them for a while. He saw me, and he saw my mother, and we were awake. My dad was laying next to my mother asleep, and I was laying next to her, and she whispered. He made a motion to the woman who came right over to me, leaned over me, and my blankets. My blankets were down 6 inches from my chin, and he grabbed the blankets and tucked them around my shoulders. My eyelids were half open, and he tucked me in and walked back to the rest of the party. It happened for a couple of minutes maybe, and they just sort of stopped. I asked my mom what happened, and she said, "I think that we just saw a cocktail party that happened here a while back, and it sounds really terrible and really cheesy. I hate to be a part of the whole cheesiness of what comes from this kind of paranormal stuff, but it really happened. They were semi-transparent. You could see things through them, but they did seem to have a 3-dimensional quality." Now, the way that I remember it, yes, it was a period of 30s or 40s, but that could definitely be coloring on my part as far as the things I have seen and learned. There was no flash or any other phenomenon that accompanied their coming and going. I didn't see them coming, and as far as going, they just sort of left, just sort of drifted off. You've got to wonder if occasionally there's not kind of a slip in the space-time continuum. I very much believe that. I think that's what happened. More than being spirits that are walking around the world, I wonder if I didn't just sort of see back in time, or who knows. The other thing is, my mom is dead now. She died of cancer, but before she died in my adult life, I had brought this up to her several times. And everything is exactly as I described it as far as her memory and my memory goes. So there may be coloring, certainly, from my youth, but my mom recalled it exactly as I did.